Good morning, September the 29th, 2014. This is CISG114, Section 2, Web Technology and Life. Today is day number 11 into the 6th week of the semester. Okay, let's get started. Good morning and welcome back to this class. Today is day number 11 into the semester, and this is week number 6. We have 3 students who are ready to share with us learnings, so we're going to reserve time for them. But first of all, let's run through some basic course sequence for today. We are not going to have a second day for this week because it's supposed to be a holiday, but I'm so grateful that the school has already arranged makeup classes after the final day of this semester on December 1st and also December 4th. So you're guaranteed to have all this data returned to you. But in the meantime, I need to go through the process. So we're going to talk something about the intellect this week. So look back to this week. This is week number 6. We have 2 topics. One is topic 2. We're supposed to finish talking about this last week. And the other is topic number 3 on mashups and virtual office applications. Now, in order to help you understand them better, I would like to return to something very essential, okay? Like what is meant by a World Wide Web. Okay, you've gone through the blog, the wikis, the podcast, and also the photo sharing last week. But if I would like to ask you what is meant by a World Wide Web, and so I would like to give you some basics today, and then we'll go to the Web 3.0 immediately, which is the intellect thing stuff, all right? So I would like to make sure that you got some sense about this. And I'd also like you to know some differences between what we call the intellect and the World Wide Web. So any particular perceptual differences? So today, without much ado, let me run you through the World Wide Web as a review, okay? Oh, geez, it's already broken. Yes, here. Here we go. Sometimes I have to fix the link.
Have you ever wondered, when you visit a website, where those words and images come from? This is the World Wide Web in plain English. These days, as long as we have an internet connection, using the web is pretty easy. We can visit billions of pages on things from pet alligators to the weather in Holland. To help figure out how it works, let's pretend we can get really small, follow the wires, and explore what makes the web work. In order to get to the web, we need a connection from our home or business to the rest of the online world. This usually happens through the phone or cable lines, or even satellite. This connection means that information from around the world can reach our computers. If we could see the connection, the information coming through it would look like little packets of code. It doesn't make sense to most people. We need a translator, something that turns the packets of code into words and images we see on a website. For this, we use a web browser. It translates the information and makes it useful to us. But that code has to come from somewhere, right? If we could follow it to its home, we'd see that it's coming from another computer. Not a regular computer, but one that's built to make web pages available. It's called a server. The words and images that appear on our screen live here in the server. If there was only one server, this would be simple. But there are millions of servers and web pages. We need a way to find a specific page on a specific server. We do this with web addresses. Each server and website has a unique one. As long as we have the right web address, we can visit a page on any server on the web. The reason we call it a web is that all the servers are connected. We can easily jump from one to the other using addresses via our web browser. And we don't have to remember all the addresses. Web pages use shortcuts or links, words and images we can click that direct us to page after page. These links create a web of connections that are easy to navigate. Together, this system makes up the World Wide Web. So, let's sum it up. To visit a website, we type in a web address or click a link. The information for the website lives on a server. It comes to us as little packets of code, and our web browser translates this code into words, photos, music, videos, and links that help us get things done. Yay! I'm Lee Lefevre, and this has been the World Wide Web in plain English.
Well, I hope you got a pretty
For more detailed resources and videos about technology, security, mobility, and marketing, visit CenturyLink.com/SMB-resources.
I hope you got a pretty good review on what is meant by a World Wide Web with its very clear and concise interpretations by Lee Lefevre. Now let's go to another very important context that is called the difference between the intellect and the World Wide Web.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Bruce Tech here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the internet and the World Wide Web. Now, when talking about the internet and the World Wide Web, people think that they're the exact same thing. However, they are not, as the internet is composed of different types of networks. For example, the first of which is LAN, which is short for Local Area Network. And what this basically, where you may basically find this is in your home, in colleges, schools, and small businesses. And then the next stage up is something called WAN, and this is called Wide Area Network, and you find this between two different sites. So say you may have a school on one site and a school on another site, they will be able to use the same network from different locations, and that is called Wide Area Network. And it works the same with homes or businesses as well. And then something that the government have newly established, which is called MAN, which is Metropolitan Area Network, and this is between different, organizations, so different groups of schools, businesses, and homes, all connected to one network. So that's the new, part of the internet, as it's now called, mass society. So when talking about the World Wide Web, you're talking about different websites in terms altogether in what's called the World Wide Web, as it says in the name. It's the whole mass of information that is found on the World Wide Web. So when someone tells you I'm going on the internet, what they really mean is that they're going on the World Wide Web, basically over to see different websites, which is through internet connection, internet network, you get the World Wide Web as an information data source. So that is the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. So now you know that the internet is not actually the actual, as you know as the internet, it's composed of certain networks, which is LAN, MAN, which is the massive one, and WAN, which is the one between LAN and MAN. So, and then you've got the World Wide Web, which is, what you view on, like where YouTube's found the World Wide Web. But to get to the World Wide Web, you require internet, which is what cross-links all the networks together. So I hope that's cleared things up for you between the difference between internet and World Wide Web. So thank you for watching. This has been Bruce Tech here. Rate, comment, subscribe, and have a pleasant day. Bye for now.
Now, I believe you can tell the differences between the two videos. The first video helps you to understand the meaning of the World Wide Web. Okay, in the process of understanding the illustrations, you somehow connect the picture with the internet. Now, when you watch the second video, well, hopefully he's done a good job, and I believe he's doing his best to tell us the differences. But what do you think? Do you think that in the second video, he's given you a better picture based on the first impressions of the first video, or he has given you a picture which is going to confuse you a little bit? What do you think? Now, I'm trying to set up questions here to help you see this, all right? And I would like to collect some feedback from you. Definitely, this is very important. YouTube video here. Okay, now the questions are there to collect your responses. But in the meantime, let's go to the last episode. It's very important.
Hey! Being aware of the numerous advancements in technology is not an easy task, but fortunately, during the next few minutes you will obtain crucial information on one of the biggest upcoming revolutions, the Web 3.0, as well as great tips on how to be aware of the newest upcoming technology. But what does all this web nonsense have to do with me, you might ask yourself? Well, you would actually be surprised. Just take a look around. You'll be able to find a computer, a tablet, or a smartphone besides it, or even all of them. Just tell me, what will you do if all your Facebook information gets lost, or if somebody steals your email password? I would go crazy! Currently, information is not just a bunch of bits anymore. It's actually becoming an extension of ourselves. So, what is the Web 3.0? The Web 3.0 is the upcoming web revolution, the semantic web, a personalizable place with intelligent search and behavioral advertisements where content is generated by machines rather than by humans, where virtual items or information become more valuable than physical items, where we'll get a tweet telling us if our bus is on time or even if our food is going out of date in the fridge. Ew. Oh, does that mean that the web has been evolving? Exactly. Remember many years ago when Google just launched, YouTube was just coming out, and MSN Messenger used to be the thing? Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Well, those were part of the first web generation, or Web 1.0. The web then began to evolve into a much more dynamic web. Technologies like RSS, Ajax, and XML started coming up. Content management systems were replaced by wikis. Blogs became more common than diaries, and social media became an essential tool for every single individual, creating what we now know as the Web 2.0. Currently, innovative technologies like the Google Glass project, augmented reality, and advanced mobile technologies are what makes this third generation of web possible. Wow, where can I get this Web 3.0? You actually interact with several Web 3.0 technologies every day. Smartphones, for example, are one of the biggest factors in this revolution. Incredible 4G speeds, retina displays, and technologies like cloud computing improve the web experience massively. Studies have even shown that people are tending towards using their smartphone or tablet more than their actual computers. We can even see this revolution in computers. Take Windows 8 for example, which is trying very hard to adapt to the tablet market. Web 3.0 also allows a thing we call hyperconnectivity. What this really means is that everything is starting to be interconnected through the internet. There are already twice as many devices connected to the internet than people in the world, and it is set to increase to 6.5 per person by 2020. That sounds amazing! Hey, and can my business benefit from all this? Definitely! Businesses benefit from the Web 3.0 in numerous ways. They're not only discovering new novel ways of using social media for marketing, but they're making use of technologies such as Ruby on Rails, Python's Django, and Hadoop to scale their businesses massively through the internet by selling software as services instead of as products. So what you're saying is that the Web 3.0 is perfect? As you might know, nothing can be perfect. With many new technologies coming up, powerful malware and harmful software comes along. The web is advancing so fast that some security protocols are not catching up, leaving loopholes which hackers can then exploit. Also, with the massive increase of value on virtual information, there is also an increasing concern, as its protection becomes much more crucial for everyone. All this is great, but How can I keep myself aware of the latest upcoming technology once this video is over? Don't worry, there are numerous ways to achieve this. Feel free to visit our site at web3.hackathon.com, where you will find more information on the Web 3.0 as well as its technologies, its influence in mobile systems, business and security, as well as very useful links to tech news, blogs, and videos. Thank you very much for your time and wish you an amazing week.
Okay, although it sounds very much like a video of promoting the company, but I think the video itself done a very good job of helping you to understand the different stages of development of Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and now Web 3.0. And in particular, you can tell different components that is going to be included in Web 3.0 from the current Web 2.0, particularly the mobile phones. All right. Oh, by the way, do you know that our rector is an expert in Web 3.0, Internet of Things? Okay. So let me add one more question now. These are very interesting questions of interest. So with this two video, or better say three, but I actually counted two, but to set up to open up today's discussions, we can see that we've gone through the period of 1994 is the World Wide Web browser was born, and we got immediately very much enthusiastic of getting people in touch by reading some of the material they post online. And we already discovered so interesting that I could really know what's happening on the other side of the world by going to the computer. So 1994 is basically the birth of the World Wide Web browser. We call it the beginning of the Web 1.0. At that time, all the material on the web is one directional, informative, informational. And then 2004 marks the beginning of Web 2.0. It's almost 10 years. And when in a particular conference in the US, it was announced that Web 2.0 was born with some kind of interactive web application. So instead of reading something online, we could come to use some materials online to generate information and post it online. And later on, it keep going until today. We have very advanced development of mobile devices and also applications of human intelligence, the AI stuff. So they call it the semantic web. Semantic web carries a lot of meaning behind data. So in the past, we just put a lot of data there, but in a semantic web, the machines can help you to put the data together and provide you perspective of things. An example of that in today's world is called big data work. In the process of actually, it's very advanced at that time. Just to remember, about 10 years ago when SARS hit Hong Kong, okay, one of the very important use of high computing power by the Hong Kong police stations there is to track the pattern of the SARS spreading in Hong Kong, the different regions, and they put together perspective of where we're going to hit the next number of infected patients, and they do this kind of projections every day to predict when the SARS virus is going to stabilize. Because at the very beginning, we do not know where, in which region it's going to hit. And they collect data by picking up pieces of data from the clinic, from the hospitals, and everything, and put together and provide perspective for people in the hospital authorities to manage the spread of the disease. It's very interesting, and today we can see that the Internet of Things include the intelligent home. So I do not need to go home in order to switch on my air conditioner or turn on my stove to cook something. I can actually do it minutes before I leave my office because it's well protected. Very interesting. All right. One final video before I give the time to the student today.
When you use the internet, what happens? Whether you go online to chat with a friend, or send mail, or buy a book, or check the weather, watch a movie, or study the Peloponnesian War, it feels like there's one wire connecting you directly to the thing you want. But a billion other people are connecting to a billion other things at the same time. How does that happen? It's really about making agreements. Think of networking as a game. It only works if we agree to play by the same rules. Otherwise, it's not much fun. If you can get 2 or more computers to play together, you have a network. If your friend can do it too, there's another network. But if you both agree that your networks will play the same way, now you can hook the 2 together. You have an internetwork. The rules we play by are called the Internet Protocol. And as long as we all agree, we can keep adding more devices and more networks until the whole world is connected. That's what the Internet is, a network of networks that share with each other. Every device on the Internet has its own unique address. Anything you send via Internet is really just a message from one device to another. But it doesn't travel in one big block. It gets pulverized into tiny packets of data, each one wrapped with info about what it is, where it came from, and where it's going. This way, your one message can actually take several different paths to its destination. Then, by following the protocol, the receiving device knows how to put it all back together. The strength of the Internet is that it's decentralized. With so many possible connections, there is no single point of failure. If one path gets overloaded or broken, your data just takes a different path. Even if a big chunk of the Internet gets wiped out, your message can still find its way. But let's say you use one Internet provider and your friend is on a different one. How does your data really get from one network to the other? Some companies make private connections with each other to exchange traffic. But more and more traffic is flowing through shared service platforms we call Internet Exchange Points. An Internet exchange is a place where many different organizations come together to interconnect their technology. There may be access providers, broadcasters, publishers, social network sites, telecom operators. Really anybody who relies on network traffic can benefit from the exchange. By connecting in a common place, they save costs, and the traffic between them flows faster and much more efficiently. Traditionally, providers have sold each other passage on their networks. But for some providers who regularly exchange traffic, all that buying and selling can get to be more trouble than it's worth. Many of them saw that if they just agreed to meet each other halfway, then everybody's costs go down and the traffic moves more smoothly. Providers are able to make a single connection to the platform to exchange traffic with many participants. This way of doing things is called peering, and it's making the Internet faster and more affordable for everybody. The exchange participants make deals with each other according to mutual benefit, so the peering system tends to regulate itself. It may seem like companies are giving away their services, but in fact, each is providing their part of the whole solution their customers need to most efficiently and reliably exchange traffic. The Internet is open. decentralized, and totally neutral. Its intelligence lives at the edge, not in the core. No single organization controls it, and that's why it works as well as it does. By agreeing to cooperate, we all make the internet happen. And that's how the internet happens.
Well, I hope this particular very interesting video could enhance your understanding a little bit more about how the internet works. So we went through some videos today to help us to put things into perspective. Now may I invite the students who would like to share to come up here to go in the order that we expect. Chane, are you going to go first? Okay. So do you have a PowerPoint? Or let me see if the microphone works. That's what we expect. Hello? 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 It does not seem to be working properly, so maybe we need to speak up there. Okay? Okay. Thank you very much. And I'll be your cameraman. Introduce yourself, as well as your partner too. Here we go. Yes, refresh.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Charlotte, and he's Julio, and we are going to talk about social bookmarking. According to Wikipedia, social bookmarking is a method for internet users to store, organize, search, and manage bookmarks of web pages on the internet. And it's the process of letting others know what you have found, something in the internet, and that you are interested in, and you may be useful for others in the internet also. And there are some tips for you to make a search engine optimization tips. And you should type your keyword phrases as your topic, and you should bold your keywords and underline the main phrases you think is important. And maybe you can italic the important words. And you can make multiple choices, and it makes the search engine spider more easier to organize your bookmarking.
And underlining your keywords so the search engine spider will see it better. Also remember to use your keyword as the title, so the blog post and the several time within the article itself. Okay, this how the user have 2 filming each day with SERP by you can spending just a few minutes each day on social bookmarking, so you can easily and very quickly to improve your website search engine page ranking. That's all. Thank you.
And we are going to show you a video.
Are you trying to rank on top of Google but don't have the knowledge of SEO or design? Let Search Engine Savior help you. For as little as a fraction of the cost of the competition, you get revolutionary results. Search Engine Savior's amazing service can be broken down into 3 simple steps. First, Search Engine Savior creates incredible high PR social bookmark lists over 1,500 sites. This is done for 2 reasons. First, to get Google's attention. Secondly, to let Google know to watch your website for further updates. Secondly, we understand that link diversity is a must for 2013 SEO. So when we're doing this, after years of trial and error, we've learned that link PR is not the best way to go. So what we do is we create over 250 high PR4 plus profiles on wikis and article sites that have unique content that we create. Secondly, in our tier 2, we create over 4,000 diversified high PR backlinks, which include wikis, Web 2.0s, forums, blog, directories, and so many other platforms. Around the link pyramid, we like to create a link wheel. This is over 50 Web 2.0 articles that are posted to the top of article sites. Then what we do is to get recognition for those sites is we post over 5,000 social bookmarks to them. This adds more like juice to your website and gets your ranking extremely fast. But we don't stop there. The third step we do is we create over 300 huge social signals. Social signals are a must as well for 2013 SEO. So what we do more specifically is we post over 100 Google Plus likes, Facebook likes, and even repins. So a total of 300 huge social signals, but we don't stop there. Finally, what we do is we post a Twitter post to over 20,000 Twitter followers to get your site more traffic and more recognition. This is all done for a fraction of the cost, and you should check out Search Engine Savior now.
The video show just now just show us some most famous social bookmarking in our internet, such as Facebook, Twitter, and something like this. And it helps us to use our bookmarking by tagging your most important words. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Connie and Judy. Do we have the Selena? My apologies, the microphone does not seem to be working this morning, so you might have to speak up. Yes, I'm sorry, it does not work this morning.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk about blogs and just generalized information about blogging from our previous classes and a little bit of additional information that should be basic and it's just common. So what is blog? A blog is where people are able to share thoughts and communicate with each other in like their interested topics or in a specific area. They also specialize in a certain topic such as beauty, health, gossips, life, and many others. Like this is one of the places where you can blog. And what is the purpose of blogging? You could give your own opinion on other people's blogs, such as like you comment and you share your opinions and stuff. It's a way of communicating with others and, in other words, socializing with people through the use of internet. And some people actually use blog as a way of income, as a profession, or sometimes just as a part-time. If the blog has good quality, good information, reliable sources, and so on. There are 2 types, or probably more, of ways to blog. There is blogging, which is most commonly used in YouTube, where you see people talking about beauties, makeups, sports, or other type of life hacks and stuff like that, where they actually video themselves and talk about that specific topic that they're specialized in. And the other way is by writing through blogging sites, such as Blogger and other sites that you could use for blogging. Since we're talking about a lot of advantages, so the disadvantages of blogging could be, comments could be hurtful and rude. Since you have the freedom of speech, you can comment on any blogs that you want. You can criticize, or people can criticize on what you write, and there's no limit in what they write. So that could also cause into cyberbullying. And since there's blogs about gossip, celebrity gossip, or people gossip about other types of stuff, people could actually pry on people's privacy and just gossip about their life. And this could basically be quite harmful for a person. So that's basically it for my topics. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us some impressive view on blogs. So in the second half of today's class, I'm going to walk you back to the teacher's message of this week. Okay? I've released the teacher's message of this week this morning, and I'm going to walk you through this particular message, and I want you to remember what it's reminding you in this particular that is the message for this week. So it's composed of several important parts. The first part reminds you of the artifacts you need to produce as a team and also as an individual, as a pair. So again, free with reading list. As an individual, you're supposed to finish at least one journal per week. The journal is based on one question selected from the reading list of that particular week. And in the end, you just select one questions journal to submit. And that particular journal should include the OIA. So our 3 weeks journal, just 1 week's journal. This is submitted individually. And then you have to, as a member of your peer, carry on the conversations, or better say discussions with your peer member for the first part of selecting questions of interest to be contributed to the team discussions. So we do not know what your peer is going to produce as a question. So we start out from the very original process. Each one of you in your peer comes up with a question selected from the week's reading list, and the 2 of you in your peer discuss about it, and finally champion one. And that championship will contribute one topic or question to the team discussion forum. And you do it by copy and paste the discussion details of your questions, whether or not it's being championed or not, and submit that as part of your discussion details in your complete online pair of team discussions forum details. And of course, if your topic is being championed and contribute to the team discussion forum, definitely the 2 of you in your pair need to engage another team pair to continue to discuss your topic, and that way you have more information to copy from the discussion forum and submit it in your pair and team discussion forum details, so that you understand the flexibility. And the other thing that's very important is the wiki. This is very different from the last learning contract. The wiki is basically a medium where you can work with your peer partner and teammates to write the report together based on the report guidelines, because there in the wiki you can structure the report in terms of different sections, and since the report must contain 2 topics, one from each pair, so the wiki could actually accommodate the 4 of you writing the report together, 2 as one pair in one corner, another pair in the other corner, and within that corner of the pair work, each one of you in that pair can also have your own space of writing it. So this is the wiki, very important. I'm going to show you next Monday how to do the writing with the wiki, but in the process of 1 minute 20 something's out. Okay, once the wiki is done, you can copy and paste from the wiki into a Microsoft Word document, just like in the first learning contract, and you produce the report with 2 topics, and you submit this. So this is individual work. This is the work done between you and your partner, and with teammates, and this is done by you with your pair partner and also with teammates, depending on the divisions of work. And this is the report to be produced once the report has been completed in the wiki. And finally, each one of you in your team needs to produce a refracted blog. As a member of the pair, as a member of the team on the topic of your interest. Definitely the topic that has been contributed to the team, or the topic which you would like to do it based on the topic that has been contributed to the team. Very much depends on what you would like to select to externalize your individual learning there as a refracted piece of report. And finally, each pair in your team needs to produce a proposal. This time you want it last time. You must have a name of the proposal, a set of 3 essential questions, and a set of references. Well, actually from 3 to 5 will be good enough, but you don't need to improve from 5 to 10. And then one small paragraph of 2, not more than 200 words, explaining the significance of your topic. But this time when you submit a meeting minute, it must be 3 meeting minutes for the whole team to discuss and inform one another what you have decided to do. So 1 meeting minute for last week, 1 meeting minute for this week, and 1 meeting minute for next week will be 1 meeting minute per week for 3 weeks in this learning contract. So if you look at it here, you need to learn something here in the wiki. How do you create pages using the Buddha Wiki environment, where you can actually allow more than one person to write concurrently and together. So this is something you're going to learn next Monday, okay? Next Monday after Monday when you come back, we're going to show you how to do it. Now, this is part 1. The second part of the teacher's message informs you of a number of interesting choices you can make as a pair, because your team is composed of 2 pairs. And each pair is going to contribute one topic for the team to do the report. But how are you going to contribute the topic? As I mentioned earlier, you have 2 pairs, and each pair has 2 persons. So you need to come up with a topic from the pair. Now, how are you going to do it? Well, if you go back to the first learning contract, each person in that pair is going to select a question in the reading list, right? So, but you have 2 questions, different questions. So which one go first? There's got to be a champion process, a discussion process. Now, how do you know which one is better? So I have to tell you that one of the challenge in a second learning contract, as I remind you last week, is you need to go to the course independent learning outcomes of this particular course. We have 6 over there. And I invite you to select not more than 3, but 2 are actually good enough. 2 out of 6, all right? So, except for the last one, which it said worked in productively as a member of the team. So, select 2 out of the 6, and then from the 2, you have selected, based on the team agreement, which pair is going to take up one, and the other pair is going to take up the other. And based on that segment, you can tell which topic is much more appropriate. So you need to know the learning goal first, because the theme of the second learning contract is self-regulated learning. And what is required of you in self-regulated learning is you need to set goals, okay? And based on the goal you set, you start to make choices, which is very much consistent with the goals. And the second thing you need to watch out for is you don't have all the time you need, which is a 3 weeks time, and this is for the second year. So you have a very limited amount of time for you to make quick decisions, to manage your manpower, reduce some within time, and it's possible for you to get all the artifacts there to be completed, and individually you have something to submit. So it's basically a challenge in how to skip your learning process based on something. You need to make decisions and learn how to stick to your decisions, to consequently select topics of interest. All right? So each one of these tells you a specific thing you have to pay attention to, but the flexibility is there. Okay? So exercise the power of choice between the 2 of you in your pair and between the 2 pairs of you in your team. By the way, if you have not, already submitted to me your team compositions as of last Saturday, make sure you do it today by giving me the information right here in this week Dr. Vance Q&A hotline. This is week number 6, okay? This is week number 6. Right here, use this Dr. Vance Q&A hotline and send me individually your 2 pairs and the 4 members in your 2 pairs as one team. So the 4 members must include the student IDs and the full names before the end of today. Okay? So at the time we set up the wiki spaces for your team and the discussion forum spaces for your team. Okay? So having said that, let's come here. Alright. The housekeeping drawers basically remind you that this time you'll have to clear up the self-assessment form or pair collaboration, which will tell me a little bit about the collaborations in your pair and in your team. So the next thing that is very important, those things have not been included in first learning contract are questions, the guided inquiry questions, because we're going through a process of learning to learn. In the first learning contract, we just informed you that inquiry-based learning requires of you to follow a process of discovery based on observations, based on interpretations, and based on applications. Now suppose you've already done this, and you come to do the discussions with your learning partner. This time, when you do it, make the best use of this set of questions. I do not mean you need to ask yourself every single question, but in the context of finding evidence to support your arguments, how well does the student access the quality and relevance of the evidence? Make the best use of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, and then if you see something from your learning partner, try to help him or her see a little bit more by asking him or her something from one of these questions and see how he or she is going to respond to you. The other thing that you need to learn to do a little bit more in the second learning contract is to do analysis and synthesis of information or evidence. How well does the student analyze and synthesize the data and information? Ask yourself this question. When you see a set of OIA presented to you from the learning partner, and can you give him or her some more constructive feedback by asking him or her to reflect on one of those questions? And of course, before he or she is going to draw up some stories to tell others, that is the conclusion. How well does the student form the conclusions from the analysis? Help him or her make the best use of these set of questions so that you can enrich the discussions in such a way that is very much grounded in our expectations. And finally, there could be different interpretations of different things. How well does the student consider other options and acknowledge that the answer is not the only perspective? And this is very important. It's an inquiry-based learning. A lot of time we need to leave rooms open for other people to fill in some of the perspective. So in the context of this second learning contract and in the context of this teacher's message, I'm giving you this very specific set of questions to help you think through the process. Now we are doing this based on the constructivist approach to learn. That means you do not learn something by remembering what the teacher tells you. You learn something by putting things together on your own. By encountering something new, when you see something new from your learning partner, you need to know something more about this. You need to try this out on your own and get feedback, and finally reflect. It's a very simple 5-step process. A little bit beyond the OIA, but it's very important that you hook on things. This is self-regulated learning on top of the OIA. Alright, so I'm giving you all of these because this is what is expected of you when you practice the learning in this course. Finally, today, before we end today's class, I'd like to walk you through the very important perspective of learning and knowledge constructions by giving you 3 episodes of John Dick's theory of learning called What the Student Does, Teaching for Enhanced Learning. Now, if I would like to summarize your learning in inquiry-based learning, I would say maybe you can distinguish between active and passive learning. Now, in the second contract, which very much put the emphasis on self-regulated learning, the key word is deep versus surface learning. Okay? So, get ready. Let's go through this.
Meet Susan. Susan is a 23-year-old computer science student at the university. Today she has a semantics lecture which she is really excited about. Susan likes to get to the bottom of things, to reach understanding. She often reflects on possibilities, implications, applications, consequences of what she's learning. Susan is characterized by a preference for deep learning. She spontaneously uses higher cognitive processes. Faced with a curriculum, she basically teaches herself. In fact, we almost cannot prevent her from learning. But she is not our concern today. Robert, on the other hand, is. Now, where is Robert? Ah, there he is. Robert is also a Homo sapiens, same age, also a student of computer science, and also has the semantics lecture today. However, Robert is a different type of student. His goal is not to achieve understanding. In fact, Robert doesn't really care about the learning in itself. His goal at university is different. His goal is to get a piece of paper and a handshake from an important man who's right here, to pass exams, get a degree, and get a decent job. Robert is characterized by a preference for surface learning. He will only use higher cognitive processes if he really has to. He will cut any corner in achieving his goal with minimum effort.
So I'm sure we can all see that the familiar structure of a finite automaton can easily be interpreted as a labeled transition system where the configuration is simply the states of the automaton.
Let's have a look inside the auditorium to see how Susan and Robert are doing.
Arrow transition relation.
Let's look a little closer.
This is interesting.
A bisimulation between two concurrent systems is a relation on the states, satisfying that for any two related states, if one system can perform an action,
Now let's have a look at Robert.
in such a way that the two systems end up
Let's break.
belong to the bisimulation. And we say that two systems are bisimilar if and only if there exists a bisimulation between the two systems. I'll just give you one example. If you think of a program.
Here you might think that Robert is the only one to blame, that he's the only one responsible for his mediocre gain from the teaching. But Robert just has a different goal than Susan. He's merely responding to a system. The statistics also carry an important message and suggest a different course of action. 20 or 30 years ago, there were mostly Susans at the universities. Nowadays, however, as student intake has increased dramatically, the Roberts now outnumber the Susans. This makes for a considerable problem which is important to tackle for any responsible modern society. But before we deal with it, Roberts learning that is, we need to take a look at the situation from a different perspective. Let's see what the teachers have to say about our two students.
Yes?
Excuse me. Could you tell me about Susan, please?
Susan. Yes, Susan is one of our good students. She always does well, not only in my own classes, but I know that she performs well in all classes. She's truly one of our good students.
Then what about Robert?
Robert.
You know, the guy...
Ah, Robert. Well, he's one of our bad students.
Notice how this labeling conveniently defers responsibility. In particular, we cannot do anything about it. It's just the way students are. Either good or bad. This good student, bad student perspective is also known as the blame the students approach to teaching, and is level 1 in John Bigg's 3 levels of thinking about teaching. A level 1 teacher was concerned with what students are. For him, the exam is a matter of sorting the good students from the bad. A level 2 teacher has the focus on the teacher and is concerned with what the teacher does. From this perspective, there are good teachers.
I did an animation yesterday, and you'll see the information in blue.
And bad teachers.
For the proof of lemma 37b, assuming that proposition 21g holds.
This perspective is also known as the blame the teacher's perspective. A so-called good level 2 teacher will attempt to arm himself with an armada of teaching techniques, tips, and tricks. There are many types of level 2 teachers. However, common for most of these, apart from having a teacher focus, is that the result is passive students. We need to engage and activate the student.
And then she said, it was the transition system.
Great teacher. Man, that guy was good.
Yeah, but that didn't really get the point about the indexes, and I wasn't too sure about the rest either, but yeah, great teacher.
As clearly demonstrated by our tenure teacher, activation itself is not enough. A teacher at the most advanced level, level 3, is particularly concerned with what a student does before, during, and after teaching. That is, he is particularly concerned with the product or the learning outcome of the teaching. But before we can go there, we need to understand understanding.
Here we go. You've got some basic ideas of what John Big is going to tell you. So are you a Robert or are you a Susan? So do you understand the meaning between being a Robert and being a Susan? Is it too bad to become a Robert? Or is it definitely we need to become Susan all the time? Well, it's easy for us to get in a trap of this. Okay? Basically, we are sometimes Robert, sometimes Susan. Through the college years. It very much depends on which subject that you're doing or what kind of attitude you're holding. But sometimes what is meant by good teaching. Okay? So how can we improve on this? So let's get to a discussion question. put some thinking in this that you can actually discuss with your learning partner before I continue to show you the second episode. Oh, time is running out. I cannot enjoy this much time today. So, okay. The interesting thing about this is, as a teacher, I have been observing the different population of students throughout the past 20 years. And I agree that at the very beginning, I more Susans than Roberts. But today, during this years of now, we would like to enlarge the admissions number of students. We see more students who act like Roberts. Now, how do I characterize a Susan from a Robert? I would say I love to see students with a high intentions to learn, so they know why they're doing college study. You must have a motivation to come to college. But increasingly, I discovered that I meet more students who are yet to be self-determined enough to know the true purpose of the college applications. Particularly speaking, when I ask them, why do you choose your major? Many of the universities in the States do not require students to declare a major until late in the second year. They believe the core curriculum must be the same in the first 2 years for different types of students who love different majors, because that is a very common core. And many of the students today, well, would neither share with me that they choose a particular major not because of their own design, but mostly because of parental expectations. So that is a very interesting thing. And so a lot of things are not done in terms of decision making, are not done by students. So we're not going to touch that, but in the context of Robert versus Susan, there's nothing wrong to do Robert. He's just a person who knows something that I want to get this, so I do not want to devote this much time on a particular subject which I'm not interested in. It does not mean he's not studying. It does not mean he's not doing his best. Yet, the way we are trying to propose today is, if you choose to become a surface learner versus to become a deep learner, there are some consequences in the life afterwards. Ask yourself this very important question. Think back to the days of the secondary schools. If you have actually learned what you should have learned in the secondary school, what is going to become of you instead of the person you are now in? Well, we teachers would say language ability. It's something that has to be improved. The practical thinking, creativity area of students could have largely be what we call raise up, instead of we got students who are prepared so much just for the exams. So we need to talk something about this in the context of the second perspective.
Since we were talking about activation, I'd like to activate you, the viewer, using the following puzzle. Please consider the following numeric transcription system, where 1 is written like this, 2 like this, and so forth. I'll give you 10 seconds. Now I'd like you to write down, say the last 5 digits of my office phone number. 1872.
It's a time for you to take a breath.
8, 7, 2, 5 in this numeric system.
We, Homo sapiens, are quite bad at memorizing random information. Psychologists claim that we are only able to hold 7 plus minus 2 pieces of random information in our short-term memory.
Now, suppose I showed you the following grid. As you can see in this number system, 1 is at the top left corner, and hence written like this, whereas, for example, 8 is at the bottom, and hence written like this. Now you can probably write anything using this silly number system for the next 65 years.
The point is that we as humans learn by associating new and unknown information with old and known information, or that we build new information on top of old information. In this case, it was easy. We simply exploited that you all knew a certain geometric shape, the grid symbol, and the numeric layout of a conventional telephone. But when teaching semantics or fertilization or political power theory or Roman literature, it may not be clear what the students know or how they know it.
The point is that knowledge is constructed as a result of the learner's activity. This is in sharp contrast to the old, now abandoned idea that knowledge is transmitted from a teacher to a passive learner. Transmission is not the way humans learn. Active knowledge construction is. Learning takes place through the active behavior of the student. It is what he does that he learns, not what the teacher does. However, activation itself is not enough. We also need a theory of understanding to take into consideration how students are activated. Professor John Biggs has such a theory. The solo taxonomy, short for structure of the observed learning outcome, distinguishes 5 levels according to the cognitive processes required to obtain them. The lowest level in the taxonomy, level 1, is known as the pre-structural level, at which the student has no understanding, uses irrelevant information, and or misses the point altogether.
One final question. What is a cow?
Level 2 is known as the unistructural level, where a student will focus on one relevant aspect only. Here the student has the competence to identify, to do a procedure, and or to recite.
A cow is when you're milking.
A student at the multistructural level, level 3, can focus on several relevant aspects, but they are considered independently. He is able to classify, to combine, to enumerate, and so on.
Cows give us milk, and when slaughtered they give us oil, meat, fat, bone, and leather.
At level 4, which is called the relational level, a student can now link and integrate several parts into a coherent whole. Details are linked to conclusion, and its meaning is understood. He has the ability to relate, to compare, to analyze, and so on.
The essential difference between a Jersey cow and a Hereford Angus cow is that a Jersey cow produces a lot more milk, but is substantially smaller.
At the 5th and highest level, the extended abstract level, a student has the capacity to generalize the structure beyond the information given, and even produce new hypotheses or theories which may then be scrutinized.
Cattle, or kai, are domesticated ungulates, a member of the subfamily Bovinae, and it seems to me that humans must have been the root cause for the diversification of cattle, because they were selected for different genetic characteristics like draft, milk, meat, size, color, and behavior, to name a few.
We refer to levels 4 and 5 as deep understanding.
For instance, one can prove that it is always an equivalence relation. Yeah.
Excuse me, isn't this the same as last week except with
Levels 2 and 3 are referred to as surface understanding.
We could have composition, the usual semicolon, operator, and then we'll have an if-then-else construct, and...
Wait, is that a colon or semicolon?
So you see the very interesting, catchy things in the teacher's approach to help students to learn. Well, traditionally speaking, we just pull up the can, open it up. All right, I finished because I covered it. Passing for you, the topics for you. And today we say, no, you can learn it by yourself. Why not study the basics of online using a flipped classroom, watch the video, and when you come to class, set up some question and pose it on a discussion forum, and let's think together and see if we can solve a problem together. By doing it, we are contributing to each other's constructive process of building up knowledge of your own. And when you share knowledge, you have to go through a social negotiation process. And if what you share is acceptable to others, particularly your peer partner and your teacher or your groups of friends, well, your knowledge becomes solid. So it's very interesting, it's a process of constructions, all right? So, lastly, let me go through the million-dollar questions.
In this particular course...
So the million-dollar question is, how do we get students to learn what we want them to? More precisely, how do we get a student's activity to match our intention as a teacher?
The answer is constructive alignment. That is, to clearly state the learning objectives of the course in terms of the solar taxonomy. To make the exam measure precisely those and tell this to the students. And to choose appropriate teaching learning activities to train these skills and competences during the course.
The constructive alignment theory was developed by Professor John Biggs. Let's first have a look at an unaligned course. We have the teacher's intention, the student's activity, and the exam's assessment in play. The teacher has an intention. Let's suppose he wants the students to be able to explain, relate, prove, and apply. And now suppose the exam measures something else. For example, the ability to memorize, to describe. In this case, Robert will focus only on the skills required for the test, disregarding the teacher's intentions. This is called dealing with the test.
Of course, you can extend with as many operations as you like.
So, do we have to know about this for the exam? Okay, here's the thing. I know what you're asking, but I figure, and Jim also told me, that if I memorize the headlines and skip through the first chapters, I should be okay for the exam.
Now let's have a look at an aligned course. Here the teacher has taken great care in making the exam explicitly conform to his intentions, so that the exam now measures the ability to explain, relate, prove, and apply. Here there is no shortcut for Robert. Whatever happens, he just ends up learning what the teacher is intending.
So these are the course objectives, and also what you'll be expected to be able to do at the exam, and what my exam will measure. Furthermore, this is what we're going to reflect upon during the course, and what you'll be trained in doing during the entire course.
A level 3 teacher has a student learning focus. This is the highest level in John Biggs' 3 levels of thinking about teaching.
So now I'd like to give you 3 minutes to prepare an argument for why this aspect is syntactic and not semantic.
Now we're in a position to actually define good teaching. Good teaching is getting most students to use the higher level cognitive processes that the more academic students use spontaneously. Or you might say, teach so that Robert behaves like Susan.
Yeah, that's how we do it.
You see, the idea here is, I just want you to have misperceptions. I'm trying to organize your learning activities in this course based on the very simple idea that I would like to teach such that the Roberts behave nice Susans. Okay? I do not mean that it's no good to be Robert. It's really your personal choice. Okay? But it's sometimes if a teacher could help you to see something more than what you can perceive, and help you to go through a process where that could be a little bit of broadening of your perspective. In this way, Robert became nice Susans. That is so much better for you, okay? And also, in the process of doing that, you are doing more in the category of deep learning than surface learning. In other words, something that will benefit your life, all right? And thank you very much, Puntalan, for sharing support. It's normal. In fact, this phenomenon is not absolute for a person, okay? As for me, sometimes I'm Robert, and sometimes Susan. There are too many reasons that explain why students become Robert or Susan. I think it needs to be analyzed very deeply. It's hard to explain very well in a deep way for me. And you have to do it on your own. I cannot tell you one single phenomenon that would make you become a Robert or a Susan. The design of learning activity, normally when we analyze lessons plan, we tell how much we can transform Roberts into Susans. Okay, second things I would like to go back to is I got 6 important responses here. Zing Hao said, I think World Wide Web is one part of the intellect. World Wide Web is tricky. People save and transform the files from the tricky in the internet. Intellect is not good and tricky. In my opinion, intellect is a platform. World Wide Web is a tool. Okay, this is good. We can use different tools to do different things. Huge platform. These are the differences. Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Jeanette, the intellect linking your computer to other computers around the world is a way of transporting content. The World Wide Web is the system we use to access the intellect. The web is not the only system out there, but it's the most popular, widely used. Okay, thank you very much for your perspective. All right, Jeanette. CC, for me, World Wide Web being the most popular information service system connects all the resources on the internet as well as the website use the World Wide Web server. So World Wide Web is different for internet but based on it. Okay. And then Iridium, in my opinion, the connections of the internet and World Wide Web links as mobile phones and app. World Wide Web works just because internet connects computer, smartphones to the other electronic information tools. World Wide Web is one way. People post their thoughts and other things they want to share. The obvious difference is that uploading and downloading music, email, online games are sustained by the internet in general. When we open the browsers and browse something, we can say that we will use the World Wide Web. That's just what I think. Okay, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. And IP said intellect was established confirming that World Wide Web is very true. There's the linking between the computer. It contains information from all over the world and many functions. World Wide Web is one of them. People communicate through World Wide Web and exchange their ideas. World Wide Web is made of many pages of information and connections, or these make up of the most important part of the internet. Thank you very much. And one more thing before we go. Yes. Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. Yu-Ying said Intellect is the national service within the web. The web can provide picture, music, video with using it called web page. Then Intellect can combine all of these web for people to click in. Okay, what do you think? So the Web 3.0 will be focusing more on the type of browsing and not only on the different browser use. Okay, we're going to learn more about Web 3.0 next week, okay? Before you go, let me take attendance. I'm sorry I'm going to do this. Sorry to hold you longer than what is expected. Here we go. Beatrice, are you here? No? Yes. Yes. Beatrice. Okay. Ben, thank you. Ken, thank you. And then Tim, thank you. Kayudos, thank you. Cindy, thank you. Patty, thank you. Nimue, excuse today. Emily, thank you. Paul, thank you. Selena, thank you. Stanley, thank you. Margaret, thank you. And then Yu-Ying, thank you. Tini, thank you. Wilson, thank you. And then Sue, yes. Kelvin, thank you. Cici, yes, thank you. Mavis, yes. Vicky, thank you. Kathy, thank you. All right, CP, thank you. Julio, yes. Jack, yes. Benson is not here today. Jeanette, yes. Anderson, thank you. Thank you. And then Ivy, thank you. Any person's name not being called? Okay, before we go, you know what's happening in Hong Kong, right? We all care for that, including I just don't have time to be part of it. So watch news and pray for them, okay? This is the democracy movement, very hardly seen in 40 years. Okay, see you next week. Thank you. That's the end of today's CISG114 Section 2 Web Technology and Life. Until next Monday, stay in tune.